Hi guys, this is Pam from the Woolly Dragon again. So this is June 21st. Happy anniversary to my parents. Number 60. So that gives you an idea of about how old I am. 42. I wish. So this is the long-awaited, I'm sure, tour of my garden. Broke it up. I did a follow-up on those deck tomatoes from the last video. And then aerial view, i.e., from my back deck, because I'm too lazy to go down the stairs right now. And then video after I actually go downstairs, whenever that happens. Could be 2 days from now, who knows. And to show you the front garden, we've had finally some rain. Rain in East Tennessee is one of those things. I live very close to Interstate 81. It's probably 2 miles to the south of me. I have literally come home from town, which is the south side of Interstate 81. I'm on the north side. Literally gone over the overpass across the interstate. Rain on the Greenville side and absolutely nothing on my side. Or in the wintertime, be either raining as I'm coming from Greenville, go across the interstate and it's snowing, or vice versa. There's usually no rhyme or reason. We have this phenomenon called the Cumberland Plateau, which it's basically, Tennessee is a long, narrow state going east to west. And for the most part, when you're at the west end, when you're Memphis and that area along the Mississippi, that's pretty much the lowest altitude in the state. And then you start going east and you get a little bit higher. And then you have the Nashville area, which can be kind of rolling hills, but, not really a lot of mountainies. And then as you go further east, you hit the Cumberland Plateau, which is the area when it goes from this to like up here, which I'm exaggerating, because we have the Appalachian Mountains, Smoky Mountains, and things like that run across the border between Tennessee, East Tennessee, and West North Carolina. The Smoky Mountains National Park and places like that. That's, literally like maybe an hour from me. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the Cumberland Plateau. So usually weather comes from west to east, unless there's like a hurricane in the Gulf or, off the coast of the Atlantic. So usual weather that comes across the country from the west can get hung up on the Cumberland Plateau, or it like diverts the energy either north of us or south of us or around us and things like that. But it's all weird, weather-wise. I can go on Facebook and see, posts from friends of mine who live like 10 miles away talking about all the rain they're getting. And I'm sitting here going, I need to do a rain dance because I'm not getting any of this, and I'm having to hand water with the hose. So I do much prefer that Mother Nature does the watering. Oh, my eyelid's going again. Summertime. I think I'm allergic to summer. Doesn't do it in the wintertime. But, yeah, so, there's no rhyme or reason. I can sort of kind of see why the weather people have such a hard time determining. Stop. Okay. I'm just going to hold my eyelid so you don't get freaked out by my twitching eyelid. Maybe it's up here. Yoga or acupressure point. I'll have to go through the rest of my life like this if that's true. Or at least during the summer. Anyway, I digress. So I can kind of understand sometimes, but you'd think by 2023, the weather people would have a better handle. I mean, I can go on my weather app on my phone and it'll say, how it gives like the day-to-day forecast for like 10 days in a row, and then it gives the hourly forecast. It will literally on my app for that exact time of that day, and it'll say, oh, you're bright and sunny and clear. And I look out and it's, pouring rain. And it's like, do they have trainees on duty right now? And the people who know what they're doing have gone on vacation. What's the deal here? Especially happens on the weekends. So I kind of have an idea that may be part of it. I'm kidding, kind of. But yeah. So generally what I will do is, rather than check out what's basically the national weather forecast, that covers the entire United States, I will listen. There's an AM radio station in Greenville, GRV, I believe it's WGRV. And I will listen to that occasionally and see. Otherwise, if I see my neighbors are cutting their hay fields, I know we're going to have a few days of sunshine, no rain. So, yeah. Oh, the technology. We used to have a weather guy. Well, yeah. There was a weatherman on one of the local TV stations, the news and stuff like that, Johnny Woods. And when we first moved up here 40-ish years ago, he would do early morning and then afternoon, and then he would fill in, things like that. And while the other guys were out there, reading directly from what the weather, NOAA and all that kind of stuff sent to them, he would read it and he'd go, okay, well, it says it's going to rain, but I don't think it's going to. I'm going to go fish. He was usually right. So really miss Johnny Woods. He's still around. He's just not on the air or anything like that. And I haven't had, with the advent of, streaming channels and things like that, as much as you have to pay to get the local channels, I'll just, So I haven't seen the local weather news or anything like that on TV for decades. Anyone want to take care of that? Elon Musk? Anyone? Don't know why you have to pay extra to get stuff that's local to you. It's all part of the conspiracy theory, isn't it? Anyway, so enjoy the video. Hopefully I won't go off onto weird tangents like conspiracy theories. But hope you enjoy it, and thanks for coming and watching. Okay, and as promised, here is the next step in the deck tomato development. So this is a couple of days after the last video that I made about these guys. These are my 3 San Marzano tomato plants that I had. Those are like the last. I think I have one more plant left that's probably not going to make it. I may just go ahead and put it on the compost pile because I don't have space for it anymore. But, so here's our little Walmart special planters. And as before, I mixed up some potting soil that I did from some bulk garden soil that I bought from a landscape place early last spring. Mixed it with some Pro Mix with the mycorrhizae, a little bit of perlite, and some organic fertilizer. And I filled up the pots, brought them up here on the deck, and then took my little tomatoes that I had growing rapidly out of their little red solo cups, and I just kind of nestled the cup down into the soil, because I knew rain was coming and I wanted to let rainwater get in here and kind of moisten up the soil and also settle it out. So as you can see here with tomato number 1, I went ahead and planted it. Each of these are about 6 inches deeper in these new pots than they were in their little red soil cups, which is good because the little rootlets will grow out from the stem that's buried and provide it with extra oomph. And so I kind of pulled the red solo cup up out of its little hole, deepened the hole, took the tomato out of the plant, out of the red solo cup, planted it, replaced the soil, pressed it down firmly around the stem, and then this one had enough soil in it that I just went ahead and put down some of this wood chip mulch on this one. This one is basically the next step. It also had, I think, enough soil in it. I may bring a little bit more up before I put the mulch on top. This one, however, you can see it settled out the most. And so I'm definitely gonna have to put a little bit more soil on top, which that's okay. And so right now you can see these little bottom leaves. They're not looking so hot. They're looking a little straggly, but that's okay because look up here. Stuff off the top is looking good. This one's probably the most robust. Got a couple of leaves that, you know, not looking so hot, but they can be removed. This little guy over here, I removed the bottommost leaves so they're not dragging in the soil. Hello, Beaker. Say hello, Beaker. Yeah? Whatever. And, you know, tomatoes don't mind that. As a matter of fact, it's probably preferable that the first 18 inches of stem from the soil level should be bare, no leaves, so that there's more airflow. And so when this guy gets a little bit more oomph to it, I'll go ahead and take off those 2 bottom leaves too, but they weren't as sickly looking as the guys on this guy. This one I'll probably go ahead and remove those soon, but I'm just gonna give this little chance to play catch up. So yep, that's it. So part 2 of the deck tomato experiment. Well, I say experiment because I'm basically seeing if these guys survive their late start of being planted. Yes. So there are some flower buds on this one and on this one. And I probably should go ahead and pick those off, let the tomatoes have a chance to. Oh, that one has 2. Just haven't opened up yet. Probably should, but I probably won't because tomatoes. Maybe I'll do it on one and see if that makes any difference to the other 2. Ooh, I feel like a bad scientist. Wow. I just realized that this is a pretty good view to show the back garden in its now well-watered glory. So we've got the 3 fruit trees in the back, the flower border with some perennials. That's volunteer dill that's flowering, and then a volunteer sunflower, which is okay. A lot of these plants in here, wind, may not be able to hear me, but we'll find out. But a lot of the flowers that are in that back spot were volunteers from last year. So don't ever say, don't ever have someone tell you have to plant annuals every year. Just do a little research and see which ones more readily self-sow. And if your goal is to be lazy like I am, about the only thing you're really gonna have to do is sometimes you'll get volunteers, sometimes you won't. Hello, airplane. Find somebody else's airspace. Throw out bags of money. That would be useful. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, so sometimes you're gonna get a winter that is not so bad for the annuals itself, and others like that borage right there, that's self-sown. I have never ever had borage come back. I have had to plant borage every year for the last 4 or 5 years. This is the first year I haven't had to plant it, but I did because I didn't think I was going to get any self-sowing. So sometime Mother Nature giveth and sometimes she taketh away. And underneath this pear tree is a bunch of volunteer balsam, which I did read that balsam can self-sow and make itself very, what's the word, invasive. But I have a weed whacker and I know how to use it. Any seeds that fall into that center path, I just either weed whack down or pull out. The center growthing, there is my Twilight Zone rose with a single solitary gladiola growing out of it. But she seems to be doing okay. She's pretty much done flowering for right now. Wait and see if she has a second flush of flowering. But she was pretty while she lasted, and hopefully she survives and gives me more flowers next year. So the center planting area is basically for herbs. I've got sage, dill, parsley, fennel, lemon balm, orange balm, thyme, marjoram, borage. That's Greek oregano that's about to flower. And then the third row are more perennial type flowers that I've kind of sort of thrown. There's a couple zinnias in there. I've got I believe that's a honeywort, which last year couldn't get honeywort to grow to save my life. This year it's putting on a great show. Hasn't really flowered yet, but it's definitely deciding it's liking this cooler weather we've having so far this season. The plant on the next to the honeywort there, the kind of lacy carrot-like flowers, that's a painted daisy that did not flower as much as it did last year, but I think all plants kind of have a on and off year. This big clump is black-eyed Susan, and it's slowly encroaching on my lavender, but the lavender seems to be having a good old time next to it, so we'll see how it goes. My yellow knockout rose with a little zinnia that I planted in there that looks like it has a flower that I need to deadhead. My zinnias aren't doing as well this year as they usually do. Then my echinacea bed, the two echinaceas on either end, this one on this end and that one on that end are both the same plant. This one is doing much better than that one. They're planted both the same time. So I'm hoping that the mulch and the compost that I put down earlier this year will help perk up this one on the end. I don't know if it's just not getting as much water, but it's echinacea, so they're supposed to be the kind of plants that do better sometimes in drier conditions. And then in the center are a couple of just hybrid echinaceas that keep coming back that I planted from seed. And then I put a couple, I think there's a orange balm that kind of self-sowed itself in there that I'll probably have to keep cutting back so it doesn't get too wild and crazy. The pear trees are starting to get their, oh no, Mom cut us back in January, we need to grow stage. So I may go ahead and let them be for this year. I think each one has one pear on it, so I'm going to keep an eye on those guys. My little pink lady tree, you can see the one apple right there that's doing well. I think there's a second one in there, but it's being affected by the cedar apple rust. But you'll notice the top growth, the new growth, still is green. So I'm taking that as a good sign. My Granny Smith apple, same thing with the cedar apple rust. top growth on the top of the tree there is nice and green, the older growth being affected, and I'm seeing quite a few deadfall apples down there in the little soil ring. So, but I think there are still some in the tree that it may just be it's doing its self-thinning thing. The other two, that's the red Rome apple. That poor little thing looks like death wormed over, and yet it has apples all over it. That's why I don't have the heart to chop it down. And then there's my Granny Smith. No, that's my Golden Delicious apple tree that never does well. It's always looking like it's about to die, and then it comes back. My Baptisia bush that is growing by leaps and bounds. It's taller than it has been. I'm hoping it doesn't get too tall, because I don't know what I'll do. Probably shouldn't have planted it there, but live and learn. Didn't really think it was going to get that big. And then my original little fig, that's the Chicago Hardy that I bought, I believe, at Walmart on sale. Probably 6-7 years ago. Oops, where'd you go? There you are. 6-7 years ago. It's coming back. It died all the way down to the ground. I usually let this guy go before I go cutting back any dead wood, just to see if anything does survive above ground. And if it doesn't, I see stuff coming up from the ground, I'll knock off all the dead stuff. But it seems to be doing pretty good. It may be because I, again, gave the added mulch or compost and soil and things like that. And then lastly, here in the backyard is the long cement bed that has usually been my pepper area for growing peppers, but I decided to switch it up, and next clip I'll probably show you how my peppers are doing with their shade cloth. But we've got irises planted throughout, and then I've got the 2 Celeste figs. There's number 1, there's number 2 that I grew from cuttings last winter. They're, I think, finally decided that they want to live. They're putting on new growth. And then I've got a sprinkling of some annuals, balsam and sweet alyssum and things like that. And then here on the very end is one of my eggplants that finally decided, yes, it too decided it wanted to live and is doing quite well. I was a little worried that there wasn't going to be enough sun for it, since eggplant does like warmth, but it may be that eggplant, like my peppers, enjoys the warmth but not so much the hot sun. So my next task is going to be getting mulch on the soil to keep it from drying out once we get into July and August. Today is June 21st. Happy summer solstice. It goes downhill from here, guys. Ha ha ha. Oh, and then let's see if I can zoom in. Nope, that's as zoomy as I can get from up here. That plant right there in the center is my little citrus seedling that I don't know if it's putting on any more growth, but it's not dying. So we'll see what happens. I basically planted it there just kind of wanting to see if, because there are some citrus plants that can overwinter in zone 7A. There's a kind of citrus, what is it? Citrus trifolium, or I'll put it in the discussion, the notes below, once I figure out what it is. But it's not a pretty orange. It's not going to be good for fruit or anything like that to actually eat, but you can use. And then there's Mr. J. Did you hear me? Am I talking too loud? Okay. Yes. I think you're part Siamese. You're very chatty sometimes. Oh yeah, the wild orange that grows up here. It's one of those wild type that has the thorns, and everyone's always complaining about it, but it's winter hardy. And supposedly the fruit isn't anything spectacular, but you can use do the peel for like orange peel, that kind of thing. And I also believe you can cook with the leaves. Now I have noticed when I would strip off the leaves from the bottom to plant it to keep it from being too bushy at the bottom, that when you crush the leaves it does smell citrusy. So I'm wondering if I can use these guys just to give a little citrusy kick to some of my cooking. I'll have to do a little bit more research. And this nice green thing that's growing there in the center, trying to think what that is, but it's looking very healthy. Ooh, maybe it's a holy basil, maybe? Can't tell. Maybe a holy basil. But, alright, so that's the backyard from above. Whee! And then I'll go downstairs and we'll show you the rest of the garden. And so this is what I'm dealing with right now. We've had rain for about 2 days now, which was very welcome. And it was generally a very nice, gentle rain. Not a lot, too much wind, not a lot of, I mean, there were some thunder and lightning, but not too much. Not so much it scared the crap out of me and my cats. But just nice gentle rain. I got half an inch. This is Wednesday. I got half an inch on Monday. And then between yesterday and last night, I haven't gone down to check the gauge yet, but I'll check it in the next segment. But so far I've had about 3 inches of rain for the month of June. And I think that's why everything looks nice and green and lush. And I'm hoping this continues into July and August for a change. All right, see you downstairs. Hi guys. So after shooting little segments, videos of the garden tour, I realized that I talk a lot and also have a kind of a large garden for one person to be walking around talking about everything. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up right now. I think it's about 30 minutes, 20, yeah, almost 30 minutes long. And then I've got a few more sections that are going to probably, so I'll probably do this as a 3-parter. And so I'll post this one hopefully today on the solstice, since I've been talking about the freaking solstice all around. And then do the other 2, maybe do Thursday and Friday. That sounds good. Okay, really, do you have to be snorting snot while I'm doing this? It's Miss Pearl. Thank you. Yes, I love you too. So, hope you enjoyed this one, and see you later for part 2 and part 3.